Good morning and welcome to the Planning Hearing Officers hearings for November 30th, 2016. My name is Laura Stotler and I'll be serving today as hearing officer. We have one case and the relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. The agenda, staff reports, and recommendations for today's case can be found on the city's website. A copy of the hearing procedures are available on the counter by the door next to the agendas and copies of the reports. Today we have a variance under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.43 of the Glendale Municipal Code. A variance shall be granted if four required findings are present. So today during the hearing, that's what I'll be listening for. I'll be listening for the four required findings. Also, since we have a hillside case, we also have requirements under the residential district's ROS and RO1 development standards for hillside policy development review. So I'll be listening to those. If you're listening to the code or interested in the code, it's chapter 30.11.040, subsection A, hillside development review policy. So if I ask questions, that's what I'm asking questions for. I want to hear the findings, and also I want to make sure that we're complying with the hillside development review policy. So with that, if the evidence presented in the application and at today's hearing meets the criteria, then the planning and hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings, in fact, are not evident, then the request will be denied. Hearings will proceed as follows. I'll read a description of the requested entitlements. The case planner will then make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will then be asked to come forward to speak, stating both name and address, and they will have 3 minutes. Lastly, the applicant will be given an opportunity to make closing comments or rebuttal if desired in response to all the testimonies given by preceding speakers. And the rebuttal will have a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will be closed and the case will be taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or who have also submitted written responses and provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter. However, if it's a decision made at this hearing, then the date will be today's hearing date. And then there will be a 15-day appeal period, and that would be 15 calendar days. And those start from the date of issuance of the letter. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, the decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to make an appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Permit Services Center located in room 101 of this building. We do have speakers cards. Anyone wishing to speak, please write your name and address on one of these cards and provide it to our planning assistant. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of this hearing are being recorded as part of the public record. And also just a reminder too that all the cases today have been subject to a public notice. So notification of this hearing was accomplished by notices which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property. There's a physical posting on the site in question, and there's also an advertisement placed in the local newspaper and also on the city's website. So with that, for the first case, the only case today, we have variance case PVAR 16-20648. The applicant is Mark Homes LLC. Represented by Susie Aceves. Thank you, sorry. Our staff member is Brad Collin. This is an application for a standards variance application to allow a single-family dwelling to be reconstructed on a lot with less than 7,500 square feet. A request to allow less than required driveway length of 1 foot 3 inches and setback variances to allow a street front setback of 1 foot 3 inches where 15 feet is required, and interior setbacks of 6 feet 6 inches and a 3 feet 8 inches where 10 feet is required, located at 318 Brockmont Drive in the R1R Restricted Residential Zone, Floor Area District 2. This project also is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act because it's Class 3 new construction or conversion of small structures exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines 15301. And with that, I'd like to ask our hearing officer, Brad Collins, or our case planner, Brad Collins, to please provide an overview of the project.
Thank you, Mrs. Stotler. As mentioned, the subject project is located at 318 Brockmont Drive. This is variance case PVAR, 1620648. This is an application for a new 2,347 square foot, two-story house with a two-car garage on an existing 5,880 square foot lot. The new residence will replace the previous residence destroyed by fire. Development of the new residence as proposed requires approval of two standards variances that include construction of the new residence on a lot with less than 7,500 square feet and to allow a driveway length of 1 foot 3 inches where 18 feet is required. In addition to the two standards variance, the project as proposed also requires approval of two setback variances that include construction of a new residence with a street front setback of 1 foot 3 inches where 15 feet is required and an interior setback of 6 feet 6 inches and 3 feet 8 inches where 10 feet is required. The lot slopes down from Brockmont Drive with a series of terraces as the lot goes from north to south. The original house was built in 1959 and was damaged by fire in 2010. The damage was significant enough the existing house could not be repaired. If the house could have been repaired at its previous location, it would have been allowed to keep its existing nonconformities without the need to apply for variances. After the fire, the house was demolished down to the foundation in 2011 under building permit number BB 1114081. Only the foundation of the previous house and the swimming pool still exist on site. The previous house had non-conforming street front and interior setbacks, as well as the garage dimensions and driveway distance. The applicant is proposing to rebuild the house in a similar location to the previous residence destroyed by the fire, utilizing existing foundation walls, including the foundation wall toward the front of the new house. The property was previously developed with a 2,270 square foot, two-story single-family residence with a two-car garage, as I mentioned, and constructed in 1959. On 2014, the applicant had applied for 7 variances, which were denied by the planning hearing officer. The project was appealed, and the Planning Commission sustained the decision of the hearing officer. Since that last application, the applicant has modified the project, eliminating 3 of the 7 previous variance requests. These previous variance requests were to have a 3-story house, to exceed the allowable floor area, and to have a garage width with a 1-car garage that was less than the minimum required. The new project is a 2-story house with a floor area of 2,347 square feet, which only needs a 2-car garage. The applicant is able to provide a code-compliant 2-car garage. The house is proposed to be constructed over the existing foundation and located between the existing swimming pool and the street. As proposed, the new house and garage will not be able to meet all of the current code requirements. Staff believes that the project meets the 4 required findings for the standards and setback variance requests, and therefore recommends approval of the subject requested variance application with the recommended conditions. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions at this time. I'd like to let everybody know that the public hearing is now open. And would the applicant please provide an overview? I'd like to call forward Ms. Susie Aceves.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler, and thank you, Brad. We appreciate the time that staff has taken to look at our project and to take it forward. What we have, as you can see behind you, is we have a house at 318 Brockmont Street. It is a 7,500 square foot lot. We are minimum. We are proposing a 5,880 square lot because of the hillside ordinances has changed. Has changed that. The house that we have planned there will be a 2,347 square foot house. It is 2-story, which complies with everything there. We plan to maintain all the hillside as it stands. We are building it on an existing foundation, to eliminate any great disturbance of the property, of the grading, of anything else to keep down construction noise and things like that. We are maintaining the site as it is, and we'll be building on that same foundation. We are contemplating a mid-century contemporary style home, which is consistent with the area and the time that most of these houses were built back in the 50s. The house does maintain actually under the FAR rating of 3.9, so we'll be meeting that criteria as well. The lot is significantly challenged, of course, because we're not able to meet the 10,000 square foot. But we've mitigated those challenges with the proposed house that we have, as well as along with the city's finding that we can utilize the setbacks as we proposed also. That the house then becomes just as consistent as a lot of the houses out there on the property. Again, I mentioned it is fully graded. It's a completely stable lot. It'll be fully landscaped and terraced in 2 tiers. We took into consideration certainly the livability and function of the house and the room dimensions, and so we feel like we've put a really good house on that site. We do have, there is a non-exclusive easement that allows for ingress and egress. We've taken that into consideration as well, and we feel that we put a good plan out. So unless anybody has any questions, I think we've met all the findings. We feel that we've met all the findings by granting the variances, that we've met all the findings, as well as the hillside development review policy. We're in keeping with the design objectives of the area. It'll be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. The site plan, as we said, shows how we've preserved the site as it stands now, and the steep slopes are taken into consideration with this new plan.
And there is access from the stairwell that goes down to the lowest level. Is there access from that stairwell to the backyard where the pool deck is?
Yes, there is. There's going to be complete access down there. We have proposed 6'6". Part of it is the stairway, but it is all level all the way down, so they have access all the way down. There is a cantilever portion on the pool at this time, and that will be eliminated. So there'll be access all the way down.
And that 6'6" wide area, that's clear to the sky, so fire department can get to the rear. So we know that was a problem with the previous house.
It will be clear, yes.
All right. I have no further questions. And with that, thank you. I'd like to ask Mr. Lutz, would he like to speak at this time? No. Any comments? No. Okay, then we'll start. Danny will start just the testimony from neighbors. I'd like to call for Sheldon Phillips, followed by Francis Malloy.
Good morning, thank you. My name is Sheldon Phillips. I live at 301 Brockmont Drive, roughly 2 lots away and across the street from the subject property. And we have moved in since this home, the original home, had burned down. However, there have been 2 structure fires in this neighborhood since. And in previous hearings, we were concerned certainly about the height of the previously proposed dwelling. And without having seen these plans yet and reviewed them, it seems like the height is certainly more acceptable, but I have a big concern about the access from each of the side adjoining properties, adjacent properties, for fire department. Because when there was a fire less than a couple of years ago, you have to take into account it's a very hilly area. When there's a fire department call there and several engines, it's mayhem in that area, and it's a relatively narrow street. And I think it would behoove the staff to really take a good look at the fire department access between dwellings for the proposed property. And Other than that, I've not reviewed the plan, but I would just urge staff to really take that into consideration. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Francis Malloy, followed by Guillaume Lansky.
Laura, hi Brad. Hey, so I sent a little picture. You're able to put that on the screen? No? Okay, so I have hard copy for you. Would you like to follow along, Laura? Can I give you
Yes,
that?
thank you.
Okay, and Brad, do you have a copy or do you want a copy?
I have it on my computer.
Here,
I
I have
printed it
a
out.
copy for you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so Francis Malloy, 320 Brockmont. I've lived there. 2017 will be our 20th year with my wife, Catherine. And so we've been there. Our house is very similar to the house that burned down. They were built similar time frame. And so we obviously have a great deal of knowledge about the home and about the fire. I respectfully disagree with the findings, specifically around, I believe it's C, granting a variance will not be material detrimental to the public welfare and injurious to the property or improvements to that zone, etc. And our first concern is setback variance to provide interior setbacks of 5 feet and 3 feet 8 inches. 3 feet 8 inches is on my side, and it's on the aforementioned non-exclusive easement that Ms. Acevesis had referred to, and Mr. Letts had referred to. That 3.8-inch setback is on the west side of 318 Brockmont, represents an area that 320 Brockmont has a non-exclusive easement over. It also is only 90 inches, so from wall to wall. That's what it is, just 90 inches. 60 inches rooftop to rooftop, since we have 30 inches extended roof on our side. It does not allow for access to the rear of the home on the west side of 318 Brockmont, and we're concerned because its minimal setback is a safety fire hazard. So if you look on the next page, Laura, you'll see there is, obviously, as Sheldon had referred to, there's certainly a fear of fire. There's been 2 in our neighborhood. This one happened almost 6 years ago. I can't believe it's 6 years now. It's been such a long time. It's been 2 years since the first plants were denied. But if you take a look at the next page, that's an aerial view of the homes. And you can see that that is a very, very small area. Just gives you an idea of the fire damage that occurred and how close we were to that. If it hadn't been actually a very nice evening, who knows what could have happened. We're just very fortunate that we had minimal damage, if any. I took the liberty of taking that first diagram and outlining what's on there, and I wanted to give you an idea. Again, the stairway on our side of the property, if you'll notice there, if you see in my presentation, there's a box that points to that stairway. That's 30 inches wide, approximately, pretty close. The green area, again, that's mainly the non-exclusive easement, the green area on the side. Thank you very much.
Right here?
That area right there is planted. That's 60 inches, approximately. There's a little area in there that's neither stair nor green. I'm not sure what that represents, but
Right in
that's,
here?
yeah, that's not there. I mean, I'll show you the pictures in a second. All right, so then you take a look on the next page. That's the north-facing view from the north portion, facing north from my lot all the way up to that area, that 90-inch area. And you can see the area in green with the trees, that's 60 inches wide. And then you can see the stairs that are 30 inches wide. So that the stair pieces, that's entirely on our side. That fence, top of that fence, that would represent the proposed east wall of 318. That's where the foundation is, and where the city has, acquiesced and allowed to maintain that. And by the way, I do agree that it would probably be beneficial for everybody if he was allowed to use that. And we've been a big proponent of having a home there from the get-go. Our main concern is to have a home that fits with the neighborhood, that fits with the lot, and that is safe for all the residents, including us who live next door. So take a look at the next page. This is a street view of the area that's in question. The gate area represents the entirety of the steps. The other area represents the majority of which is the non-exclusive easement. Looks, again, I'm just trying to dimensionalize exactly how close we are. The next page outlines, that's a view from my steps on the other side of the fence there, on the other side of the gate, I should say. So again, you can see that entire area is very green, not accessible up and down. So it may look on the diagram that there's an area to get through. There really isn't an area for anybody to climb unless they broke down our gate and went down our stairs. So there's no access to 318 on their west side. So our request is to require a setback on the west side of 318 Brockmont that allows for the following. 1, room for the fire department to access the property on the west side they've had 6.5 or 6.5 feet on the east side where there's no structure really that close. We don't think that it would be that much of a hardship to add another 3 feet to allow access around that, because we do think being that close is indeed going to be injurious and dangerous to the welfare of the residents of 320 Brockmont and to everybody else. So again, 90 inches, the current home separation, and the requested setback is not enough of a setback to ensure safety and privacy. I think right now, there's also a lot made in the staff report about the home being there for 52 years, and it was up to code then. You know what, I agree with that, but now since there's no home there, isn't it really the right time at this point in time to make the adjustments for safety's sake? And I really think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. So I appreciate you listening on that part. Concern number 2 is we are very unclear as to what the room on the top floor is on the southwest corner of the home. You can diagram it there. I just would like to understand and have a better idea if that's an actual wall or is that an open area.
Right here?
On the top floor, I'm looking at the, on the west side, yes, right there, right, yep, southwest corner, that's it. Oh, is that enclosed?
Right
Is
now
that,
it says, it appears to be, it says home center and
Right.
the roof.
but
I don't have the roof plan, but I can take a look at it. I can also ask the applicant to explain.
I'd like to understand that better, because again, if that's an open deck area, obviously facing west onto our property, if you take a look at the next page, it'll kind of give you, I have taken some pictures kind of before and after what the previous home looked like. Again, I'm sure you've seen these, but you'll see that that entire area was walled off. It wasn't open. There was no windows for our privacy. That was there 52 years ago. That's how, you know, when we bought our house, that was what was there. I've also taken a liberty now of looking at that same area open-wise, and you can see that would look down directly onto our pool and backyard area. And obviously, we would be concerned about that as an infringement on our privacy. But again, I really don't understand those diagrams, so I'd like to have a clear understanding of that. Might be fine. I appreciate your time, and I do want to state one thing for the record, that Kathy and I have been a big proponent of ensuring that we get a house next door for a long time. I have emails going back from 2013 from Yvette after her meetings with the builder saying that it would be built by 2014. That's obviously not happened. We want to get this thing rolling. We want it right. We want it safe. And appreciate your time and work on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next I have Geo Landscape, followed by Jim Koosman.
Good morning. My name is Guillaume Lemoine. I live at 300 Brockmont, which is on the north side of the property, on the plan on the left. I'm glad to, I must say that we are not in a position of a new construction, a new building there. We want to have a residence built there. We are glad to see a 6 feet setback. However, I'm hearing that they're going to use the same footing, the same foundation. The foundation is at 3 feet away from the property line. The pool wall is actually at 3 feet as well from the property line. And I wonder if you're going to move that wall as well further back to 6 feet, and you can do it. I'm also concerned to see some different number, again 6 feet, but building on the existing foundation. And on this document, the house size is 2,300, and on the document over there is 1,500. So those are the questions. Thank you.
So let me just make sure I understand your concern. Okay, because we have a pool deck here. Is this your concern in this area here where the pool deck is?
That's my pool
Is it going to be
deck,
pulled
yeah.
back and then give you additional setback?
Right now, the pool deck is over. There's a cantilever.
Right.
You see it
Kind
is
of
there.
in this area here.
So they told us, they told at the previous hearing they were going to remove it. I heard
Okay.
it again today. But the wall of the pool is actually 3 feet. And when the fire occurred, the fire...
Right in here?
Correct.
This wall? Okay.
When the fire department walked through that alley to extinguish the fire, they actually threw everything that was there on our side in our pool to have access. So the access is a concern. We like to see 3 feet, 6 feet, but higher differently when they say they're going to build on the same footing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Koosman, followed by Gary Nave.
Yeah, Jim Kussman, 400 Kempton Road, Glendale. You know, I was here for the three-story debacle, and the truth is I don't have a dog in the fight because where I live, I don't see it, I don't look at it, but I know that the people that live near it desperately want something built on that eyesore. The thing I don't understand about this going forward is the west setback. I get it that everybody, I mean, this is a spec development. This isn't an owner, I don't believe this is owner being built. This isn't owner built. These are people that want to build a house and sell it. And I get, you know, and that's fine with me. I'd do the same thing. But I don't understand why we can't fix the west setback so that the people that live next door don't feel like they're living in a condominium project. I mean, you drive around and you look at all these new homes that are built cheek to jowl, and you say, why would anybody want to live like that? And I don't blame the people on the west side at all for being concerned about the access, you know, that proximity, and especially that room that overlooks their backyard. I mean, you know, that's an intrusion on their privacy, and I just think that the concept of granting variances to maximize people's investments at this point in time is a little short-sighted. Thanks.
I'm Gary Nave. I live at 320 Brockmont Drive, directly across the street from the proposed property. I want to also state, in fact, that we have been a proponent of a development there since the fire. We do want to have a safe development there. I understand on the east side setback at 300 or 301 Brockmont Drive, it's a 6-foot side yard setback clear to sky. That alleviates one of my concerns for fire access. My next concern is on the west side at 320 Brockmont. There is no 6-foot setback clear to sky, and thus I believe there is a safety issue there. Also, the privacy issue is huge. By trade, I'm a real estate broker, and by having encroaching on the backyard privacy at 321 Brockmont Drive, that's a great diminish of value to that property. And I believe now is the proper time to get this done and to get it done properly. And the proper is having a larger setback on the north and the south side. The 6-foot setback clear to sky is I love that, but I'm now concerned about the west side. I'm also concerned about using the existing footprint for the pool structure. If you're looking on the downslope side of that property, there's some pictures in the presentation by the applicant. There is a retaining wall built out of railroad ties. That railroad ties, I think it's 3 to 4 feet tall. It's made out of railroad ties, and we all know that railroad ties do deteriorate. So I would also suggest that staff look at those issues, side yard setbacks and the setback in the rear of the property. So I'm a proponent of the property, getting something built, and we'd like to have it done properly and safely. And so again, thank you very much for your time and efforts.
Thanks. Next, Mr. Philip Keller. And is there anybody, if there's anybody else who wishes to speak, please submit a card.
Hello and good morning. My name is Philip Keller. I serve as the Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association representative to City DRB and Planning Commission meetings. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the Homeowners Association's concern with the variance appeal before you for 318 Brockmont Drive. Our area of concern is something that's been said by several of the preceding speakers, but I'm going to speak about it again. In the staff report for 318 Brockmont, it's opinion that the granting of the interior setback variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to the property or improvements in the zone in the neighborhood, and that the intent of the setback requirement is to provide a buffer between neighboring properties. Well, I ask, what about safety concerns? And this is what's been brought up before. Of course, I'm speaking about the proposed 3-foot 8-inch setback on the west side of the property. We all know about the fire that destroyed the previous home at this location a few years ago, and that could have easily jumped to the adjoining properties due to the close proximity, and thank goodness that didn't happen at the time. My point is that although the developer is seeking to rebuild a home to what is largely the same non-conforming footprint as the old one, it would still leave a potentially dangerous situation, in our opinion, unresolved through its insufficient space for emergency access to the back of the proposed house on the west side. And now is the time to correct this potentially dangerous situation. Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association strongly recommends that the west side setback be increased to at least equal to the east side setback, which sits at 6 foot 6 inches. This is a very reasonable request. Maybe 40 or 50 feet would be shaved off the proposed home size, bringing it in around 2,300 square feet, still very good size, not a hardship for the developer to resell the house, and yet a very small compromise to help ensure the safety for everyone. This is the time to do the right thing. Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association feels that the granting of the setback variance alone would constitute a detrimental impact to the public welfare and adjoining properties. And therefore, all 4 findings of fact cannot be made, and this project should be denied in its current design. It's a very simple adjustment to the front facade, shifting over the garage, coming into the footprint of the interior house space, 3 feet, and it's done. When a homeowner or developer chooses to build on their property, they are exercising their right to do so, and we fully support that right. And all the neighbors have said they want a house here, and that's what needs to happen. However, this right comes with a responsibility, a very important responsibility, first and foremost, to build something that is safe within itself and safe to the surrounding properties. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, is there anybody else who wishes to speak? No, if not, then I'd like to call back the applicant for a 5-minute rebuttal.
Morning, Ms. Stadler. My name is Michael Lutz. I'm with Mark Homes. My address is 8282 White Oak Avenue, Suite 112, Rancho Cucamonga, California. I'm going to respond a little bit out of order with regard to the comments that have been made. And I would point first to a comment that I believe was made by Gary May concerning the railroad tie retaining walls and that the potential instability of those retaining walls for the pool facility. If I could point your attention to the map behind you, you'll notice that the pool area, the gray area on that plan, is right immediately behind that is a retaining wall. That is a...
So in this area here?
Yes, all the way across. That is a block and concrete constructed retaining wall. That is the principal retaining wall on that property for the terrace of that lot that would contain both the house and the pool. The railroad tie retaining wall is further down in the rear yard, and it's just a landscaping, it creates a landscaping bed and a lawn area. But they have nothing to do with the stability of the pad for the home and the pool itself. Secondly, if I could address the issue of, I keep hearing the word privacy, rear yard privacy, and I was looking at the city's comprehensive design guidelines for single-family homes. And this privacy issue seems to be stemming from windows and or people's assumption that what says roof on a plan is actually a room. Well, the reason that it's marked roof on the plan is because it is a roof. It's not a room. It's not accessible.
Is it a roof deck?
No, it is not a roof deck. It is absolutely strictly roof area. It is not an enclosed space. And the room that actually sits adjacent to that sets back roughly 8 or 9 feet from the western side of that foundation or building wall. Secondly, the only window that's located on that side of the home is located in the little office area that's to the east of that roof area. That window itself, yes, that window could see into, the rear yard of 320 Brockmont, as well as into the rear yards of all the homes down, below us on Arbor, as well as to, the same type of view that you would have from the deck that's shown on the back of our home. That's not inconsistent with the city's design guidelines, which basically stipulate, kind of lay out the specific items that we should address as part of developing a home. Number 2 there says that we should work to maximize daylighting and views through window placement and design. Item number 5 says that to enhance privacy, windows on side elevations of adjacent homes should be staggered with windows on adjacent homes whenever possible. Windows should not be positioned directly opposite of windows in an adjacent structure. So there's nothing even in the city's own comprehensive guidelines that says, look, every home that we build in Glendale can't have any windows on any side walls. We can only put windows on the front of a house and on the rear of the house. Well, that's inconsistent with your guidelines. It's also inconsistent with what's built throughout the city. If there were a window on 320 Brockmont that was immediately adjacent to or across from that window, then we would have staggered the location of that window. But to say that, look, because of privacy, you shouldn't have any windows on the side of a home is inconsistent with the city's own guidelines and inconsistent with, building practice. The third item that I wanted to address, and this is an issue that, has been bounced around by, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Malloy, Ian, I apologize, I forget your last name, and also Mr. Keller with the, I don't know, whatever the homeowner association is up there in the hillside area. They keep talking about this easement on the west side of the property. And Mr. Malloy was very careful to point out that we don't have any access to that. Well, today we don't have any access to it because Mr. Malloy has inadvertently or incorrectly installed fencing across the north and south ends of that 3-foot 8-inch easement. I would point to, and I can deliver a copy of this to you, a copy of the grant deed for that property. And that grant deed, this is the original grant deed from Mary Armstrong to, at the time, Boyd and Francis Henry. Mary Armstrong owned both homes, Lot 4 and Lot 5. Lot 4 is
I'm just trying to figure out what the point is of the easement. Are you saying because of the easement you can't have a setback? I'm trying to figure out how it's related to your variances.
No, that easement is part of the setback. That easement is not an exclusive easement to Lot 320 Brockmont. That is an easement specifically for the purpose of landscaping and maintenance of that 3-foot 8-inch area. And it grants unto the owner of Lot 5, which is 318 Brockmont, the right of ingress and egress to such easement. So installing fences at the north and south ends of that to block off egress and then say, well, you don't have any access there, you can't get to it, so you don't have any kind of a way for the fire department to access that area to fight a potential fire or for safety issues. Well, that's inconsistent with what the deed itself says, and I'll deliver a copy of that to you.
Okay.
So, and I've highlighted that specific language with regard to that easement. That area on the west side of the property, the actual dimension between the house wall on 320 to what is proposed to be the house wall on Lot 318 is 7 foot 10 inches. The setback from on Lot 318 Brockmont Drive is actually 3 foot 8 inches to the property line. On 320 Brockmont Drive, that setback from their house foundation to the property line is 4 foot 2 inches. So, basically you have a clear area, or potentially a clear area between the two homes of 7 foot 10 inches for fire access, which is not wholly inconsistent with what we see on the east side. On the east side, we have 6 foot 6 inches in total, but of that 6 foot 6 inches, 3 inches is the concrete stairway that runs from the street all the way down to the lowest level of the lot.
Yeah, but that's from the property line. So on one side, you have a 6 foot 10 inch setback from the property line, and on this side, I'm hearing you have a 3 foot 8 inch setback from the property line. And the testimony that I heard coming from the residents is, how come there's not at least a 6 foot 10 inch setback on the west side from the property line?
Right.
That was what I'm hearing. So for rebuttal, I'm hearing why you have a 3 foot 8. I'm not hearing why you don't have a 6 foot 10 inch. That's what I'm.
And the reason we don't have 6 foot 10 inch on that side, the reason that the easement area was expanded to 6 foot 6 inches on the east side of that property was as a result of the prior hearing and the request that, look, the fire department is going to need some flat level area adjacent to the home to be able to access it for fire and safety purposes. It would be wholly inconsistent to expect the fire department to fight a fire at a potential fire at a home off of a stairway, a concrete stairway that's moving down the side yard. So, the area that provides access for the fire department is actually off of that landing midway down the stair that comes out to the pool deck. And then there's an easement, part of the 3 foot part of that easement, or 3 foot 6 inch part of that easement, sits immediately adjacent to the house, between the house and that stairway. The easement on the opposite side of the home is fairly consistent with that sizing.
How are you addressing fire safety then? I mean, if the setback isn't all of it, how are you addressing fire safety? What are you doing for fire safety in this area, for your house, for your structure? What are you proposing?
Well, the structure will be built with a fire sprinkler system, which is something that doesn't exist. It did not exist in the prior home. I don't know whether that exists in the adjacent structures around us, but this home will be built under current code requirements, which will require a fire sprinkler system throughout the home. So the likelihood of the type of fire that occurred there previously is greatly diminished with the fire sprinkler systems being installed in all new construction today.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand the argument. The reason you're proposing a 3 foot 8 inch setback is because that's where your existing foundation is.
That's
and
where
that's
the
what you're
existing
using.
foundation is.
So you're not proposing to move the foundation at all. You're just going to keep it right where it's at, and that was the existing setback. So that's why you're asking for a new one.
That's
rather
exactly
than moving
right.
it over. Okay. Right, I understand.
And that avoids, additional work, for example, on Brockmont Drive itself. If in order to increase the size of that setback on that side of the home, we would actually have to shift that entire garage over. And that garage is already only 1 foot 3 inches from the street. So because of the fact that we're built on that radius there, if that garage were shifted over, we'd be basically at a zero setback from Brockmont Drive itself. And we risk, in construction there, one of the reasons for maintaining the current foundation is to avoid any kind of major grading operation on that particular site, as well as to avoid the potential shoring requirements that may be necessary in construction to protect Brockmont Drive itself. And even though you do everything you can in that shoring operation to ensure that you don't undermine that roadway, the likelihood is that you're going to get some erosion, and that creates problems within that roadway, and certainly expands the scope of the project, and could potentially affect Brockmont Drive is a fairly narrow road at that radius, so any undermining of that and reconstruction of that could also require closing of that road for some period of time, or difficulty traveling on that road during the construction period.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Unless you have any other further questions?
No, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura?
The public portion of the hearing is closed, so I'm not taking any more testimony. With that, I am now closing this public hearing. The case will be taken under submission, and I will be preparing my decision. There are no further items on this agenda, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for coming. And again, if you want to have a copy of the decision emailed to you or sent to you, make sure that you've given me your address or your email address, and we'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of the decision. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.